Yo, welcome back to another video. It is a new month as of like 2 days ago. I'm lazy, don't judge. So we're here to talk about the usage stats. Sucky Lucky compiled this post together the other day. And he's here with me now, along with Shister, and we're going to talk about the usage. There's a few interesting trends. More so just like a brief, quick video on like the state of the metagame. Um, I mean, more precisely the state of like the ladder game, like the ladder metagame, because that's really the only thing reflected here. We'll also talk about OSDT usage for the last several rounds. I think that's kind of interesting to discuss. OSDT finals are tomorrow. I cannot cast it. However, hopefully someone will get it casted. I think I saw someone say they would. Um, but yeah, we're just gonna talk about this. We have the graphic here. Definitely not stolen from OU, and then stolen from the previous month, and then stolen from the previous month, and stolen from the previous month with like 5 edits each time. Good job.
I would
I'm proud of
never.
you,
I
Sucky
would
Lucky.
never.
Um,
Thank you.
so yeah, okay. So I think we'll just start off with the top. Obviously, this kind of stayed similar for a while. Instant at the top, which is like slightly fraudulent because it's really not the best Pokemon in the metagame, but it is pretty widely used, especially on ladder. Then we got Landorus, at number two. Interesting to see it. It's actually like moved up a little bit. We see Wellspring and Landorus both moving up. Rillaboom moving down. Um, this is kind of interesting to me. I feel like this is probably correct. I don't think Rillaboom is like really that strong as a Pokemon right now. It doesn't really have. It was like a lot more helpful when Side Spam was in the tier, more of a thing. But Side Spam has gotten worse, so there's less reason to really use Rillaboom. What are you guys' thoughts
Look at
on these
its
top
matchup
four?
spread into the other top 10.
Yeah, it's really shit.
Tornadus, Incineroar, Chi-Yu, Arcaludon, Bolt. He doesn't want to see any of these mons.
He doesn't even want to see the mons that are even slightly lower than that. Like Goldengo, bro. Like unless you're running high horsepower, that's like kind of vast. Um, but yeah, and then we got Torrent number five. I think this is like fairly accurate. To like what I'd say is probably usable most commonly in like tours, right? Um, Ensign, obviously a very splashful mod. I think Lando is like Landorus is probably the number two mod, but I'm not sure. Like I agree with like the ordering of like what else is here. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think Lando's still the best mon in the tier,
Yeah, I
but
kind
it
of
only
agree with
got better
I kind of
with the
agree with
fact that
that.
Arch didn't get banned and Snow kind of falling off. Like everything in the top 11, I guess, if we're gonna include gold, that isn't Water Pond or Pow, it'll win in a vacuum against. And it's just I don't know. It's got the high power, especially with Chi rising again in usage.
Yeah, it's interesting. If we look a little bit farther down here, we can see Chiu's gone up a lot. Um, Not something I would have necessarily anticipated. Like 6 spots is kind of crazy. Um, just within like a 1 month period. Um, I'm kind of wondering what's driving that. If it's just like random variance in regards to ladder. Because I think the mod is always like this mod is always at least since like DLC two, it's felt like very consistently like decent, but like not great. Um, I'm a big fan of the mod myself, but like,
I
is
think
it
the
really
biggest
number
thing
nine?
driving.
I
I don't
think it
know if it's
is.
number 9. I is that I've been seeing a lot more Chi-Yu on Sun teams lately. But a couple of the other Sun mons are fairly stable, but Chi-Yu's been getting used on those structures more, just as an absolute dominator. And you can see just toward the bottom of the usage stats, we see Walking Wake is hanging on to the tier still. So those structures, like Walking Wake, pop back into the tier because Sun's getting a little bit of a resurgence with Chiyu. And if you actually look at the difference between 15th and ninth in usage stats, it's not that big of a percent difference. So that
Yeah,
team probably accounts for the main change here.
look at the gap between Bolt and Chiyu. It's like basically nothing. Um, yeah, that's fair. It is interesting to see. Oracle itself here is actually similar usage to the previous month. But yeah, I feel like that does align with what I've seen in like tours, just from paying attention a little bit. Um, I feel like I've seen like a fair amount of sun recently, which is kind of interesting because I feel like not much actually really changed for that. I guess maybe a bit more usage of sun with like snow still being somewhat common, matching up well into to snow obviously. But snow has also suffered a little bit, which is interesting,
Big hit.
but not something that I'm really surprised by because I've been saying for a while that snow feels kind of like one dimensional. It's just it's not it's just aside there's like one really good snow team, right, that I've been convinced by, that's fan room, right? All the other snow teams have really never been like that great in my opinion. And so it's just like I don't know. I'm not too surprised to see snow drop. I've kind of been like saying, uh, at least amongst like my friends, right, that this was kind of coming for a while. Um, what are your guys' thoughts? I feel like
I,
it's not win more enough, you know? It doesn't really do enough. It's like
I
decent
think
on its
one of the
own, but I
biggest,
don't know.
well, I think one of the biggest hits that Snow took this month was the development of Ting Lu hazards on Alpin's teams. And those teams got much more bulky, which made it harder for Snow to actually see team those archetypes. Because that was probably the biggest structure that Snow was really, really good at taking down was Palfins. Because the sheer bulk and then just blasting blizzards into those teams was pretty easy to take wins with. But Ting Lu's really come into form on POW structures lately, and those rocks are not fun to deal with on Snow at all. It gives that type of team a new dimension that Snow hasn't really kept up with that I've noticed. On top of the mild increase in sun also hurts, and at the beginning of the month there was a decent amount of Tyranitar running around to counter the Snow teams, so it falls in line that the metagame was shifting around Snow, that it would fall in usage towards the back end of this month, and now I barely see it at all.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, for an example of kind of POW team we've seen recently, there's one of the samples that was added, I don't know, like a month ago. Um, let's see, where is it? Yeah, here. Orform plus Tinglu, et cetera, et cetera. So this was kind of an interesting thing. This is probably the most common POW team we've seen, like the last month or so. So yeah, these teams have gotten a little bit bulkier. Tinglu has also like risen a fair amount. Well, actually, no, that's not even like that's not even indicated by ladder. But we've seen a lot more of it in tours. And it's still at if it would be DOU in usage. I'm pretty sure it's still technically DOU. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
Tinglu.
yeah.
we need to wait one more month. Hold on there, buddy. You'll get here.
Yeah, it's D. As long as it like just stays around that current trajectory, it'll actually become DOU again. Just so.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like it actually dropping 2 spots this month is a little like out of line with like what I've seen. We've definitely seen more Tinglu in like 4 games, like the last, or at least it's felt like we've seen more of it than we had in a while. It's kind of interesting.
Um,
I feel like the mod is like it definitely has its place in this metagame, more so than like it has for a little bit. But it's also like I feel like the mod is still fundamentally like not that great in a doubles format, right? Just frankly, it just doesn't. It kind of just sits there, right? Which is not bad. It does a few things well, but it's like kind of you can get worn down by a lot of like the offensive bonds, obviously, and then having stuff like Ogre Bond, Wellspring, Pow, etc. be very good at threatening it. Hands as well is something I've liked recently that kind of can punish Tinglu a fair amount. So it's interesting to see it with some more usage. Um, if we will take a look at like OSTT stuff, we can consistently see several Tinglu teams being brought each round in the playoffs. Um, let's see. I think it gets. Let's see here.
I
Yeah,
will
as we can
say
see.
that sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I will say that Tinglu, it still went up in usage. It just dropped in percent because other stuff like leapfrogged it.
Okay, that's interesting.
Like it's still getting more popular, but Wake and Whimsicott just had even more usage than.
Yeah, Whimsicott jumped 5 slots.
What's
It
are people
dropped
doing
10
with
last month
Whimsicott?
too. It was almost falling the DUU or
Whimsicott
would
is
have
not that
fallen.
guy. I'm curious why people are using it a little bit more. I mean, the mod is like still okay, right? You have Trickster on Corporal's Tail, and that is still an excellent combination that probably warrants that Pokemon to be DOU. But generally, I'd say Torn is just more useful. And you kind of have a not a great matchup in the Torn either, so it's like That's interesting to me. What are your guys' thoughts?
One thing that
I-
Whimsicott does have is Encore, which Torn doesn't. And I've used it because of that a few times. It can get really good against like non-furrygraph Trick Room setters.
Yeah.
Limbs really gets bonus points for just having Moonblast in this tier. Like, it doesn't even have to be like that strong. It's a viable Pokemon that can click Moonblast. That's all it needs to like have an impact in some games.
It's fair. It actually is like there's just like no fairy attackers in this metagame. Like
Because
Ninetales
it's a Hatterene.
almost never runs like Moonblast.
Hatterene, true.
Grimmsnarl is just like there. And then Hatterene is not even
That's
a
a
Pokemon. So it's like
You say
Hatterene is
that,
like
then you get 6-0'd by it.
Hatterene is like the one Pokemon that is like always an outlier on these ladder stats. Not a Pokemon that really has any business being DOU by usage. If you look at like actual like things that are brought to tours, right? Um,
Yeah.
but it's always been interesting to me. I mean, it's obviously pretty good at clicking Expanding Force under Trick Room. Does a lot of damage. It has a very high like special attack stat. Not terrible typing. But it's just always been really funny to me that it has like such high usage on ladder. This was true in Gen 8 too. I don't even think the mod is on the VR in Gen 8, and it's like you can't go like 3 games without playing Hatterene Slice Spam on Gen 8 DOU ladder. At least when it was current gen, that's how it felt. Um, so yeah, Moonblast from Whimsicott, pretty valuable stab option there, right? You don't really have a whole lot of it. Fairy types don't click fairy moves except for Whimsicott. And honestly, like if you invested in special attack, Whimsicott can actually do a fair amount of damage. Especially if you pair it with stuff like GU, etc. I mean, it's not like a lot, but it's just like you have to actually respect it a little bit, which is really funny. Anything else here? Let's see. Um, DNC down a little bit. Not too
DNC,
surprised.
DNC on ladder probably just dropping because people are realizing, oh, I can't do anything to Arcalodon if it's playing Rain with Flash Cannon. Oh, I can't deal with Goldango. Oh, Landorus is just God. This
Yeah,
poor Pokemon has such a bad topside matchups right now.
yeah. The mod is still like fundamentally like decent, but like the matchup spread is like the worst it's ever been in like at least this gen. Um, Other
There's two
stuff.
bears right next to it that are just better in Trick Room.
Somehow normal Ursaluna has more usage than the better form. Ladder
Standard,
moment. I
probably.
guess it's the same reason why Crest is number 12. Ladder
I play in
loves Trick Room,
Fangame.
right?
There's also Volcanion falling to DUU probably next month. It's been on downward trajectory since like I started doing this.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
interesting. Kind of just doesn't really have a whole lot of growth. It's kind of in a very similar boat to Heatran, right? Had more like use in like previous metagames, but now it's just like with Landorus everywhere. It's a little bit harder to like fit around on teams. Water type, while valuable, it's just like meh. Because the water type doesn't even actually do much in this metagame. It's just rare. Also, we see
It's
Arcanine and
water.
Sui in the drop range if this was a normal month. That's like probably
Yeah,
valid. I mean, I think Arcanine's like fine, but really like Instant is more applicable on most teams. But I think Hark probably deserves to be DOU just based on like the Mon's usage. And it's kind of a Mon that goes up and down over time, but I think the Mon is always pretty solid. Um,
I think the big thing that people need to account for with Volcanion dropping so much is there are two really strong electric types in the top 10 usage stats that Volcanion doesn't particularly enjoy the presence of on top of Landorus. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a bad Pokemon, but my bulky Assault Vest user slot is like taken by 2 electric types or Rillaboom. And if you're using leftovers, it's like, okay, I kind of just want to use Incineroar. It's got more utility in that department. You really specifically need to like want Steam Eruption or something with this Pokemon. Like, it's not bad at all. It's Volcanion. It's one of the all-time goats for DOU, but it's kind of like in a weird spot where it's being competed with Mons that aren't even the same type as it.
Like Wake too, yeah.
which is really funny because Wake has no right to be DOU in any category at all. Um, the mod is just too niche. But funnily enough, we do see it with enough usage to potentially like be DOU in a normal month, right? Um, which is again correlated to the like more use of Sun, right? Um, or more of its use on Sun, which is valid. Sun without Wake is kind of a throw, but it's like the mod is not that good. So it's funny to see
Just
Wake having higher usage than Volcanion.
it's just a nice water type to have because it's faster than Lando and doesn't actually lose to Wellspring like a standard water type might. It's
Yeah, that's true.
it's a nice function. It's just Wake is funny because I feel like it could be a little less niche if people dipped into the Assault Vest variant a little bit more, but it really is just like
Well, yeah,
I just want to use Ogre Pawn or a water type, not at all.
I think like the Assault Vest set is like the only good set like outside of Sun, and I've like obviously like one of the only people that's ever brought it to like a tour game, and I've brought it multiple times. So obviously I'm a fan of that set, right? I think it's decent at it's like it has some decent like matchups, especially in like some of the top mons. It's pretty bulky, but people aren't really using it that way, which is why I'm saying like I don't really think the way people are using it, it deserves to be anywhere even up on here, right?
Mm.
Other stuff we see, I think a lot of this is just kind of natural fluctuation of ladder, right? Interesting to see Dragonite down a lot. I guess that's fair, but we've also have seen those like newer Power Knight teams, right? Amoonguss also there competing with the other grass types per usual. Has obviously still has a niche, right? So it's kind of fine. It's not really anything too drastic here. Any final thoughts?
The only other outlier that kind of sticks out to me is Glimora going up in use rate. I can't
When-
exactly explain that one with metagame trends recently.
I
Yeah,
mean,
the mon's always been
it went
fine.
down by 10 last month. Like it was top 10, then it fell to 20th. It's been all
Why?
over. I don't
The mod
know.
is. I feel like where it is right now is pretty fair. The mod's always had a niche. It's a decent mod.
Also,
Um,
Indeedee at 14th is annoying.
yeah, well, and DD we see falling again. I'd say even 14th is a little bit too high for this one. Side spam is just not that strong.
The
We haven't
first
really seen too
E-Force
much of it.
clicker is in 33rd use.
Yeah.
Why
yeah.
is Indeedee up here, bro?
Where's Iron Crown when you need
Well,
him,
it's just
bro?
being spread out among the users, right? So you have Iron Crown, which is probably the best one, which isn't even in the tier by usage, which is a little kind of fraudulent in my opinion. I think Iron Crown should probably be up here. If ladder usage like actually like matched like tour success, right? I know Pentour has used a fair amount of Iron Crown for the last several months, and the mod is pretty
at
fine.
the raw usage. Iron Crown is at like 1.7% use rate. It's at like 67th for overall usage.
Yeah, that's kind of funny because I just feel like it's not that bad. It's definitely in my
It's
opinion like
lower than
the better one.
Corviknight.
Bro.
Oh, what? Corv. That's crazy.
All right, bruh. Well, we also got the Crowsba out there competing for usage. That has actually seen
And Dio normal.
normal Skull of OG, not a Pokemon.
I mean, hey, some people are using it. I think Mirza has a team that. Like,
Me when I'm feeling desperate.
Yeah. But yeah, Necrozma also saw some use, especially on that one Rat Packer team. The
sounds
Rain,
good.
Size Spam. No, that team is not good. Don't ever say that again. But yeah, thank you for watching. That's kind of just a brief overview on the metagame. I think we went over everything kind of like important here. There's not a whole lot, but we'll try to make this a series each month. Just short videos going over like the state of the metagame. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.